Hey guys, OMG, I'm back. I've been super busy with my life and school low key, so I have not been able to upload anything. I think the last time I did was in the summer, but yeah, I'm trying to do more content on here because I don't really want to leave this channel in the dust. I know I completely switched over what I'm doing, but hey, like, life happens, and you know what? Uh, Art's really my passion, so it's really the only thing that I'm gonna do. But you know, another thing I love to do is yap. So I figured I have a bunch of time lapses that I usually speed up and I post on my Instagram, but I also like to watch them when they're actual like slow down in their normal speed. So I figured, why don't I do that and have myself just ranting over it? So yeah, I think I'm gonna do that today. If it gets really annoying, you guys can mute me and watch the speed paint. If not, yeah, please, thank you for listening. Okay, what I'm gonna be talking about today is okay, you know what? This is a confession, but as you guys know, in the art community, tracing is a horrible thing. You will get hanged if you trace, and rightfully so, especially if you're tracing and publishing your work as, oh, I did this myself, or even for monetary gain. That's a big one that a lot of people usually get crucified over, and it is wrong, like I said, rightfully so. But you know what? I used to be a tracer. Yeah, I did. No shame in my game. I started doing digital art when I was around probably 10, 11. That's when I got my first iPad. And, well, no, I did a lot of digital art on like my computer because, okay, I lied. I did a lot. I started on an iPad. I got an iPad for my birthday, and it was a big deal. I was so excited because I had all these idols that, I would follow on DeviantArt and YouTube. I was really big into the Warrior Cats scene back then, the animation community, the maps, like y'all, that was my thing. Like the My Little Pony Next Generation, I was all up in there. Pokemon, I loved it, and it was a good community. Not was like it's still alive, but I feel like back then, it was more alive, if that makes sense. And I was just so into it. And it was a great community. I keep saying was like it's dead, but I really had a great time. Anyway, so back to my tracing saga. Yeah, when I got into digital art, it kind of like broadened or kind of made my tracing habit a lot worse. I think when you're growing up and you're drawing, tracing is bound to happen. And like looking back, like I used to watch those videos where it'd be like a video tutorial on drawing like a watermelon, like the Chippy draws watermelon, and I would trace those like off my computer screen, or if I was really feeling confident, I would do it without. So it was just kind of a habit that I had doing art. I obviously did not trace all the time, but when I got an iPad and I kind of had the ability to, put the layer, put down the opacity level, and start tracing, I was doing it. Especially because a lot of these artists, I would look up to them and I would want my art to look just like theirs. Like that was always my thought process was, oh my god, this piece looks so good. I wish I could make like a piece that looked like this, or that had this type of pose with, my own characters and whatnot. And obviously that would not happen. Like I would trace it, and if you look at it, it's like, girl, come on, please. It looks completely different. But I've kind of learned that I don't really beat up myself for doing tracing in the past. I never really posted any of the work that was traced ever because I just I didn't want to post art anyway. I would post my own like art that I would do, and I used to post it on DeviantArt. I didn't have Instagram around that time, and it used to be really discouraging. Like I'm not saying it's an excuse for tracing, but it used to be really discouraging when I would post something and it would get like one like. And that's something that even nowadays I still struggle with. I know for a lot of other people I know that do artwork on social media or that used to do it, it's a really big like influence on your motivation to draw, or even to just keep drawing every day when you post something that you feel really, really good about, and then it doesn't get any attention. And obviously you shouldn't define your works by likes, but it can be really, really hard. Like I never used to post until my TikTok got a little bit popular, but it got a little bit of attention, and that's when I really started posting more art. That's when I made an Instagram, because I was like, oh my god, like people actually value and see value in my art. When at the end of the day, it should be you seeing value in your art. And there's nothing wrong with getting likes and shares and comments. That's like the best thing ever, when you can talk about your artwork with other people, or they give critiques, or they just give they point out things they really like. That's like the best feeling ever, okay? But it's also at the end of the day, it's you who drew the piece. If you don't feel good about it, if you don't feel good about it, then what's gonna make you feel good about it? Okay, I went off the rail with the tracing thing, but yeah, so when it comes to tracing, I know a lot of people, there's the big argument of when is it okay to trace, when should you give credit, and let's be real here, okay, even me now, like in the big year of 2025, I don't be tracing, but y'all, I be referencing, okay? Like, I know people say sometimes, very rarely, that referencing is tracing when it's really not. I know some people, when they reference, they do trace the reference. In my opinion, don't kill me, but I think that's okay. If you, like, get a picture of a horse and you trace it, oh, and I'm trying a horse. If you get a picture of a horse and you trace it, let's be for real, y'all. You do not need to be crediting that image, in my opinion. It is basically doing a study in a way, especially if you're posting not to get like monetary gain. Like if you're doing a commission and you have to trace something, then maybe sure, let the person know like, hey, I had to use this image. But it's at the end of the day, I think there's a point where you're referencing and there's a point where you're borderline tracing. Like if I went to like one of the artists I followed and just took their work and started reworking the pose a little bit, but blatantly tracing the whole outline of the idea, the composition, the lighting, and then I post it and I'm like, hey, look, like, yeah, that's completely wrong. And yeah, you should be sent to the pits for that. But if you're getting like a picture of a man standing and you trace that for let's say you're doing like a character sheet for your OC, that's totally okay. Like, hello, that is totally fine. I've done that before. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, I think the whole point is that when you're tracing these things, you're also learning in a way. You're teaching your brain, you know, when you're doing anatomy or you're drawing an animal or even like buildings and whatnot, your brain, like, y'all, I mean, unless you're really blessed, like if you are, good for you. But if you're just a normal person, you're not gonna know just how to do that stuff off the jump, if that makes sense. Like, it's gonna be hard, especially even when you're referencing, unless you've really spent a lot of time doing art and your brain has already learned those muscle memories on how to draw certain things like hands or noses, or like if you're a background person, then it's gonna take a lot more time to get used to that. And that's why I think that really, especially for beginner artists, please, if you are tracing like a reference or if there's a pose you find on Pinterest that you like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, please do not beat yourself up and think that you should be able to draw this person flipping into freaking water, like on a on like off a building, like automatically. Like, you're not gonna know, and that's okay. And you tracing helps your brain kind of understand the placements and understand perspective, and you're just teaching yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. It is a totally different conversation if somebody made a drawing like that and then you trace it and then you go post it and you're like, hey, look at my drawing. Like, that's completely wrong. Even posting it with credit is wrong because there are artists out there, you know, that do not, it's not reposting technically, it is just blatant tracing. What am I talking about? And you know, if you use it for reference in private, you do you, but posting it obviously is not okay. Especially because you have to learn these things. Like, I feel like sometimes we forget, like, we don't have these abilities naturally to understand certain things when we're drawing, and sometimes you gotta understand it just by tracing over it. Okay, there is nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I think the one time I did post something that I did trace off an artist, I was called out. I was. And they were very nice about it. From what I remember, they were like, oh, this looks kind of like my artwork. You know, and I took it down. So quick. Thankfully, that was my wake up call. After that, all my artwork, no matter how much I hated it, no matter how much it didn't look like an artist that I followed, I posted it. And you know what? Progress. Obviously, my drawings back then, I don't hate 10-year-old me for the art I did back then, because that was just where I was at that point. Even nowadays, I do pieces sometimes and I absolutely loathe them. I'm just like, what the heck? Like, why can't it look like this? Why can't the colors come out like this person's? And that's okay. You're gonna always self-critique yourself. Like, it's bound to happen. But I've also, I've accepted that, I did trace. And even now, when I do referencing sometimes, I will trace. And I have, like, I'm not gonna sit there and struggle on how to draw a gun when I could get the image and just draw it. Y'all be for real. Like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I mean, if you want to, you can, but I'm not gonna make my life harder. Like, work smarter. Hello. So yeah, I will do that. I'm not out here blatantly tracing other people's works. God forbid. That is absolutely horrible. I don't think I'm at the point yet where people want to trace my work. Like, I'm not that goated yet, but still, I would never do no such thing. But if it's just referencing, like, come on, like, please, I encourage people to trace reference, as long as it's not someone's work. Please don't do that. Don't go do that and say Sarah told you to do it. Please don't. Go to Pinterest, search up poses, search up backgrounds, do all this stuff, please. It really, really, really helps you. It gives you inspo. There is nothing wrong with that. Every artist needs a little bit of brain juice. Even for all these time lapses, I went on Pinterest and I looked up like man on a horse, or I don't know what I really did for this one. I think I just wanted to draw a house. But, you know, I would, like, look, y'all, for that finger, I definitely had to look at a picture. Like, come on. It is okay. Like, it is totally fine. You will get to a point where you don't have to trace that reference anymore because your hand is already confined and already knows how to illustrate that on paper. You know, that's me now with bodies sometimes. Like, I can straight up draw the body. Like, you know, I used to have to trace it, but now I don't really have to. Or if it's like a certain, like a hand being outstretched, I don't have to trace that. And it's okay if you do. You will get there. Like, everyone is in different parts of their artistic journey. Please don't feel like, oh my God, I shouldn't be tracing this reference. I'm going to get killed. No, you will not. It is not the biggest deal in the world. Be so serious. Getty Images don't need their credit. You're just learning. You're teaching yourself. And you're having fun and making stuff that makes you happy. That's what happens at the end of the day. So what was the point of this whole thing? There was really no point. I guess it's just to say that it's okay to reference. It's okay to trace in certain circumstances. I know sometimes people will go online and bash artists that admit they trace a reference, and it's like, be so for real. Like, if you were told to draw a car, are you really gonna go pop out and draw that car? Like, come on. Especially if you just want your drawing to look more like the car, you're gonna trace it, and the more you trace it, the more you trace it, over time later you can do it on your own and it will look like the car. There's nothing wrong with that. It's literally just learning. Okay, it's completely different when you take an artist's artwork and you post it and you say, oh yeah, this is totally mine. Yeah, that's completely wrong. So I hope you guys enjoyed this rant. I don't know if I'll do more, but yeah, I think I really enjoyed this. I like sitting and talking. So thank you guys.